All right, Chris, how's that going?
This is the most riggy thing I've ever witnessed in my life.
Justin.
Welcome to my garage.
What's up, guys? My name is Andrew.
And I'm Justin.
And today we are back working on the Opel GT. As we promised in the last video, Justin, what are we doing today?
Today we're pulling the motor.
So this will be a big video. Justin has already been busy working on the car. I've had to do some stuff in the morning, so I wasn't here. Justin, what have you and Jamie been working on while I was not here?
Just getting the motor prepped to get pulled, pulling the carburetor off, the alternator off, anything that can get caught. Because in this car, the motor can't get pulled through the top of it. It has to be dropped through the bottom. So we're trying to take off everything and anything that can hinder us pulling this motor out. So I took all the radiator stuff out. I took anything that can be unbolted off the motor right now that can be, will be.
So that is currently where we are with removing the motor for the car. We are going to continue working on getting off, I believe it's the inlet manifold and also the exhaust manifold on the car. Those are the next two big items that need to come off on the Opel. And then kind of once that's done, it's just kind of really going underneath, getting the transmission disconnected, getting the steering rack, the drive shaft, a bunch of things out of the way so we can actually get this motor out of the car. So guys, come along. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let's get this motor out of the Opel. We began by removing the intake and exhaust manifold out of the Opel. As you guys can see here, there's very little room in the engine bay. Justin then began to remove the exhaust underneath the car. Everything was so rusted in place though that Justin resorted to a saw to cut off the exhaust off the Opel. We then went ahead to remove the exhaust and intake manifold out of the engine bay. There was such little room in the engine bay, sadly we were not able to get the manifold out and would have to wait until we dropped the motor to get that manifold out.
Alright, so as you can see, this car is a pain. So what we've decided to do now, instead of just easily dropping the motor, is we're going to disconnect the steering shaft so that way we can make up some more room in here. We're going to disconnect the shock towers on each side. We're going to disconnect the whole front assembly. So actually we're going to pull the whole front assembly out, then the cross member, then the motor, transmission, drive shaft. Should all be coming out of the car today now.
The next step, guys, is to remove the steering column in the front. After the steering column was removed, we went ahead and removed the 4 bolts holding in the front assembly. Make sure to put a jack underneath that assembly, otherwise it could fall out of the Opel.
Alright, so now we're dropping the whole front subframe, steering rack and everything like that. We actually had to jack the car up from the back of the motor subframe so that we get the car up higher so we can pull the whole steering rack and everything out at the same time. And let's get to it. You jack it up, Chris?
It's already up. Alright, ready?
Just roll right now. Oh, wait. Go up a little bit more.
Guys, it's about that time. We're going ahead, setting up the engine hoist and connecting the chains. As you can see here, we are connecting the chains to the manifold area. These bolts should be able to hold the motor, and it's a secure location. The last thing you guys are going to want to do is use an area that is not secured and drop your Opel motor on the floor. No one's going to want to see that.
Alright guys, so we got the drive shaft underneath disconnected. I got the transmission cross member disconnected. Now we're going to go and try to get the engine cross member disconnected. There's a bolt here, one on that side. There's 2 engine mount bolts there, and then there's 4 bolts underneath the cross member over there, underneath the engine. And then after I bolt all of those, the engine should swing free. We should be able to drop it low and scoot it out of the car.
So guys, the Opel is coming along really well. Jamie, what do you think?
It's definitely a part.
Yeah, it's definitely a part. Hopefully we get this dropped really soon. Justin kind of was already going over what we're gonna have to do to get this thing out. There's a lot of wires, a lot of little bolts here and there to really get this engine to drop. Justin really didn't mention it, but the way that we're gonna get this motor out, you can't just lift it straight out. You actually have to lift the motor down and we're gonna put it on the ground and then slide it out from under the front of the car. That's the only really way this motor is gonna be able to get out of the car. We're also gonna keep the transmission on it just to make it easier to move around and stuff like that. But it's looking pretty good so far. You can also see the whole entire front beam we removed out of the car, just so we can get as much clearance as possible to get this motor out of the Opel. So we'll see how it goes. Next shots, you'll be seeing us getting this thing out, trying to drop it, and trying to figure out how to maneuver this motor out from under the car. So let's see how this goes, guys. Now for the fun stuff, guys. As Justin mentioned, remove the motor mount bolts and go underneath the car as you see here and start removing the engine cross member. You can see us right here dropping the cross member out of the car. Next, with the engine free, we were able to make some room in the engine bay to remove the manifold that we took off earlier. We began to lower the engine slowly and place it on a dolly underneath the car. Justin was able to use his hands to lower and guide the motor down to the ground, while I was underneath the car, making sure that the engine would land in the proper spot and be cradled properly. And in Justin fashion, he forgot to remove the clutch line on the transmission. Okay guys, so we are now got the motor out of the car as you can see, but the issue is the motor won't clear out of the actual shell, the chassis, so we're gonna have to lift this whole front of the car up so we can get the motor out the front. So we're gonna have to figure out how to do this. Should be pretty interesting.
Oh boy.
All right, Chris, how's that going?
This is the most riggy thing I've ever witnessed in my life.
Justin.
Welcome to my garage.
To lift the front of the car, we figured it would be best to use the front assembly bolts to connect the chains to the front frame rails of the car. This would allow us to pick up the front of the car, get underneath there, as you can see Justin doing, and scoot out the motor. The car is light enough now without the motor in it that you can pick it up by hand, but we recommend using the crane to lift up the vehicle. This is not the safest way to obviously lift the car or remove an engine out of an Opel, but for us this worked and got the job done.
All right, so we got the motor and trans out, as you can see. So now the next step is we're gonna unbolt the trans, get it on the engine on my engine stand, and I'm gonna start cleaning up the engine, maybe start replacing some gaskets, and then we'll clean up the transmission too, and get it all painted and looking brand new.
We removed the transmission from the motor with blunt strength, as you can see Justin doing here. The clutch, pressure plate, and flywheel looked pretty crusty, as you could see here. Justin went ahead and started to disassemble all the components needed to remove the clutch and flywheel in order to get the room needed to mount the motor up on the stand. Now, with the motor up on the stand, Justin can really actually dig into this motor, see what needs to be replaced, get all brand new parts, and freshen up this Opel motor to put back in the car.
Oh, yeah.
Okay guys, so finally everything's out of the car. We have the motor, as you can see right behind here, on the stand. Oh, Justin, how do you feel, bud?
I feel accomplished, man. It's a long day. Put about 9-10 hours into this car just today. We got as you can see, the pile of parts out of the car today, not including all the little bits and ends and hundreds of bags of bolts and transmissions and such. But
yeah,
we got it all out. It's gone. It's done. Now it's time to fix it and put it back in.
So what is the next thing you're really going to be concentrating on working and fixing on the car?
So the next couple things I'm concentrating is cleaning up the motor. So we're gonna make the motor look kind of brand new. And then after I finish the motor and everything's all cleaned up on that, the transmission, I'm working on bringing this whole front end to a powder coating shop. I'm gonna change the shocks out. I actually got brand new shocks for it already. So the shocks and struts will be changed out. And then hopefully I'll dismantle this whole thing and bring it to the powder coating shop, and the whole underneath will be powder coated.
So there you guys go. That is kind of just a snapshot of what we did today, what's going to be coming up in the next episodes for this Opel build. If you guys look at the car, like here, let's go show them the car, Justin. Like,
nothing left.
There is really nothing left on this car.
Pick up the front end of this car.
You probably honestly could, Justin. I would not be surprised. Oh yeah, he literally can lift up the front of the car. Yep. Yeah, Justin, do some workouts. So yeah, it's a very light car, as you can see. Like, Look, nothing in the engine, nothing inside, and underneath, what's there?
Nothing.
Just the rear.
Just the rear end.
Yeah, we just have the rear end in the car. That's really it. Yep, Justin's working out. You know, he didn't work enough today, so he has to work out now too. Oh yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. Don't knock it off the stand. All right, so guys, that is gonna be a wrap for the Opel episode today. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys all enjoyed this episode, as always, go down below, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel. We would really appreciate it.
I would appreciate it, all the time and hard labor. Just like and subscribe, please.
Exactly, guys. It just helps us know that you guys are enjoying the content. Justin's dumping a lot of his time into this. He's really enjoying it, but we're trying to bring you guys along and give you guys a, just a look into what it takes to maybe rebuild an Opel or a car in general. Like, I'm not a mechanic. I'm an accountant. Justin is an electrician. So, like, we're kind of just figuring this out as we go and having fun with it. So we guys want to bring you guys along and show you guys kind of what it's all about. So, guys, on that note, we're going to end the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in the next episode. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Justin.
Peace out, guys.